A billionaire lost the only thing his dying mother ever gave him and offered $5 million to anyone who could bring it back. 5 years. Nothing. Then one cold October morning in New York, he looked across the street and saw a little 6-year-old girl wearing it around her neck. He opened the locket with shaking hands and realized the richest man in the city had just found his real treasure, sitting on a dirty blanket in a too big pink coat with a missing tooth smile. His name was Alexander Harrington, 35 years old, $14 billion. But the only thing that ever mattered was a simple white gold locket his mother gave him the week before cancer took her. He wore it every single day until one drunken night after the 2019 Met Gala. It vanished. He turned Manhattan upside down, fired assistants, offered $500,000, then $5 million. Nothing came back. Then, on an ordinary October morning, Alex stood outside his own jewelry store on 5th and 58th, holding a coffee he wasn't tasting, when something flashed in the sunlight across the avenue. A little girl, Sophie, 6 years old, messy auburn curls, freckles, sat on a gray blanket selling handmade bracelets with her mother Lily. Around Sophie's neck hung the locket, the exact same one. Alex dropped his coffee, crossed against the red light, and knelt in front of the child like the world had stopped moving. "Sweetheart, may I see that necklace?" Sophie smiled, gapped where a tooth used to be, and handed it over with tiny, careful fingers. He opened it. Inside was the same photograph. 7-year-old Alex hugging his mother on a sailboat in Capri, both of them laughing like tomorrow was promised. His hand shook so hard he almost dropped it. Lily, tired hazel eyes, old Columbia hoodie, paint-stained jeans, told him the truth in a whisper. 5 years ago, she cleaned rooms at the Plaza Hotel. The morning after the gala, she found cash, a torn invitation with Alex's name, and the locket on the nightstand. She was already pregnant. Didn't know who the father was because someone had spiked her drink at the after-party. She kept the money to survive, and the locket for the baby she was carrying because it felt like it carried love. Alex looked at Sophie again. Same dimple in the left cheek. Same green eyes as his mother. Same little frown when she was thinking. He knew. He asked for a paternity test that same morning. 48 hours later, the lab called. 99.9997% match. That same afternoon, he closed his entire flagship store for renovations, brought Lily and Sophie inside the empty marble palace, opened the huge safe, and gave Sophie a second locket, brand new, with a fresh photo taken an hour earlier in Central Park. Alex, Lily, and Sophie, all three smiling like they had known each other forever. That night, Sophie slept in a bedroom 65 floors above Central Park. Lily slept in a guest suite with a real fireplace, and Alex slept on the living room couch because he was too afraid to close his eyes in case it was a dream. Christmas Eve, under the lights at Woolman Rink, Alex got down on one knee in the snow, held up a ring made from the leftover gold of the original locket, and asked Lily to marry him. She cried. Sophie screamed yes, loud enough to scare every pigeon in the park. Sometimes the thing you would give the entire world to find has been waiting for you on a cold sidewalk, selling $10 bracelets, wearing your heart on a thin chain, and your mother's eyes in a tiny face. And when you finally see it, you understand you weren't looking for gold or diamonds. You were just looking for home. Late November in Nashville. The air smells of fried chicken and coming snow. Logan Ryder, 36, the reigning king of country music and a billionaire many times over, stands outside the historic Ryman Auditorium in a black shearling coat, pretending to check his phone. Inside, 2,000 fans are waiting for his surprise acoustic pop-up show. Then he hears it. For perfect notes drifting from the alley behind the building, played on the only instrument in the world that truly knows his soul, his grandfather's 1892 red spruce violin, lost the night he won his first Grammy 5 years ago. He follows the sound like a man being pulled by an invisible rope. Under a flickering street lamp sits a little girl on an overturned bucket. Auburn curls escape her knit cap. She's playing wagon wheel better than most grown men on Lower Broadway. Her open case holds just 3 crumpled dollar bills. Logan's eyes burn. He hasn't cried in public since he was 16 and burying his mama. The child's mother steps in the shadows. Harper Hayes, early 30s flannel shirt, cardboard sign that says, "Will work for food, God bless." Logan's voice comes out like gravel and smoke. "Ma'am, where did she get that violin?" Harper pulls her daughter close. It's Ellie's. Been hers since she could hold it. 7-year-old Ellie, missing one front tooth, carefully hands a violin over like it's made of glass. Logan turns in the orange light. There are his own childhood initials, LR, carved on the back. The crack in the scroll from when he was 10 and running from his drunk daddy. He looks into Ellie's hazel eyes and sees his grandfather staring back. "Harper," he whispers, "I think I'm her father." He doesn't ask permission. He simply texts his manager, "Move heaven and earth. Get them backstage passes, hot food, blankets. Now." An hour later, Ellie and Harper sit front row at the Ryman in borrowed cowboy hats, eyes wide as cathedrals. Halfway through the set, Logan stops singing mid-chorus. 2,000 people fall silent. He tells them the truth. He just found the violin he thought was gone forever, and the little girl playing it is his daughter. He brings Ellie on stage. Father and daughter, though only 3 people in the world know it yet, play a trembling duet of "I'm Already There." Half the audience sobs openly. When the last note dies, Logan leans into the microphone, voice cracking. "Her name is Ellie Hayes. Starting tonight, she'll never play for tips again, because she's Ellie Ryder." The roar shakes the stained glass windows built in 1892, the same year the violin was born. 2 days later, the paternity test reads 99.999%. That same afternoon, Logan cancels the last 4 stadium dates of his world tour, $60 million in refunds, and he doesn't even blink. He drives Harper and Ellie 30 minutes outside the city to his 400-acre farm on Old Hickory Lake. Ellie runs through rooms bigger than her old laundromat apartment, screaming every time she finds another guitar. Harper stands on the wraparound porch, arms crossed, afraid to believe any of it is real. Logan hands her the keys. "This is yours now, both of you." That night he turns a heated barn into a music room. Baby grand, vintage amps, walls lined with every stringed instrument imaginable, and in the center, under soft light, the red violin on its own stand. Ellie falls asleep, clutching it like a teddy bear. Thanksgiving night. The porch swing creaks beneath sharp Tennessee stars. Ellie sits between them, picking out the melody to Tennessee whiskey she taught herself in 3 days. Logan looks at Harper over their daughter's curly head. "I know you hated me for years. I hated myself." Harper reaches across Ellie and laces her fingers through his. "I stopped hating you the first time she played that violin and smiled like the world finally made sense." Ellie yawns and leans into Logan's side. "Daddy, will you play me to sleep?" Every night after that, Logan sits on the edge of her new bed, red violin tucked under his chin, playing the same lullabies his granddad once played for him. A month later, he steps onto the stage of the Grand Ole Opry and debuts a new song, Red Violin Girl. It stays at #1 for 16 straight weeks. Sometimes the thing you lose on the darkest night of your life comes back to you in a cold alley, wearing scuffed cowboy boots, playing the song your grandfather wrote the year you were born, calling you home without even knowing your name. Early December in Brooklyn. The first snow of the season is falling soft and quiet under the streetlights. Ethan Caldwell, 37 years old, a fintech billionaire who nobody ever recognizes, stands on Atlantic Avenue, Barclays platform wearing a plain charcoal peacoat. He looks like any tired New Yorker waiting for the F train to Manhattan. 6 years ago, the same night his company rang the opening bell on the New York Stock Exchange, he lost the only thing in the world that truly mattered to him, his grandfather's 1953 rose gold Patek Philippe. The old man had worn it through Normandy beaches, through the frozen hills of Korea, and finally slipped it onto Ethan's wrist the day he died, whispering, "Come home safe, kid." Ethan turned the city upside down looking for it. Hotels, pawn shops, $1 million reward, private detectives. Nothing. Ever since, his left wrist has stayed empty. The train screeches in. Ethan steps on, grabs a pole, and starts scrolling his phone to kill time. Then he sees it. A little boy, maybe 5 years old, is standing on the subway seat, so he can reach the overhead bar. He has wild brown curls, a Spider-Man backpack, and wrapped twice around his tiny wrist, so it won't slide off, is the impossible watch. Same rose gold case. Same cracked crystal. Same worn leather strap. Ethan forgets how to breathe. The boy notices him staring and grins the way only little kids can. "Hi, mister." Ethan crouches down, try and keep his voice steady. "Hey, buddy, that's a really cool watch. Where'd you get it?" The boy's mother looks up from her phone. She's maybe 30, paint-stained overalls, tired green eyes, beautiful in the way people are when they haven't slept enough. She pulls the boy closer. "His name is Noah." She says, cautious, "I'm Ava." "Ethan," he answers, eyes still locked on the watch. "Noah, that watch, it belonged to my grandfather. I lost it 6 years ago, the night my company went public. Can I just see the back for a second? Please." Ava's face goes white. Noah happily sticks out his arm. Ethan turns the watch over with shaking fingers. There it is, engraved in fading script. "To Ethan, come home safe. Love, Pop 2017. The train doors open at J Street, Metrotech." Ava grabs Noah's hand to leave. Ethan steps in front, not blocking, just pleading. "Butler Bakery is right upstairs." He says, quickly, 5 minutes. "Hot chocolate for him, coffee for us. Please. I'm not crazy, I swear. I just need to understand how this is possible." Something in his voice makes her pause. She looks at Noah, then back at Ethan, and nods once. 5 minutes turns into 30. Noah colors on the kids' menu, while the grown-ups talk in low voices. Ava explains that her husband, Daniel Morgan, was an army captain. 2 years ago, on his 3rd tour in Syria, an IED took his life. When the casualty officers came to the door, they handed her the flag and his few belongings. The watch was in a small plastic bag. No explanation, no paperwork about where it came from. Just the watch, still ticking. She gave it to Noah on his 4th birthday, so he could keep Daddy close even when he's far away. Ethan listens, throat tight. "I lost it in Manhattan Midtown Hotel, the night of the IPO. I was drunk on champagne and grief. I took it off to wash my face and forgot it on the sink. By morning it was gone. I thought I'd never see it again." Ava's eyes fill. Daniel collected watches. He always said one day he'd own a vintage Patek. Maybe someone sold it cheap after finding it, and Daniel bought it overseas. The world is strange sometimes. Ethan looks at Noah laughing with chocolate on his nose, and feels something break open inside his chest. "I offered $1 million reward for 6 years," he says quietly, "but I'd trade every penny to go back and never lose it in the first place." Ava wipes her eyes. "I can't take it off him. It's the only piece of his father he has." "I know," Ethan says. "I'm not asking you to." They sit in silence until Noah tugs Ava's sleeve. "Mommy, I have to pee." Ava stands. Ethan stands too. "Can I see you again?" he asks. "Both of you. Just coffee. Or hot chocolate. I don't want anything from you. I don't know what I want. I just know I don't want to get off this ride yet." Ava studies him for a long moment, then writes her number on the corner of the kid's menu and tears it off. "Tomorrow," she says. Same bakery. 4 o'clock. Noah gets out of preschool. The next afternoon, Ethan is there at 3:45 wearing the same peacoat. No watch, no bodyguards, no pretense. Noah runs in and hugs his leg like they're old friends. Ava smiles, smaller this time, but real. Days turn into weeks. Coffee turns into weeks. Snow keeps falling. Ethan learns that Ava is a painter who hasn't touched a canvas since Daniel died. She works nights cleaning offices to pay rent on a tiny apartment in Bushwick. Noah thinks Ethan is the funniest grown-up ever because he lets him win at claw machines. One Saturday, Ethan takes him to the Natural History Museum. Noah falls asleep on his shoulder on the subway ride home. Spider-Man backpack dangling, the watch loose on his little wrist. Ava watches Ethan holding her son like he's made of glass, and something shifts behind her eyes. Christmas Eve comes. Ethan invites them to his brownstone in Brooklyn Heights. Just the three of them. He cooks spaghetti because it's the only thing he knows how to make without burning. Noah hangs his stocking on Ethan's fireplace. Ava stands at the window, watching snow pile up on an empty street. After Noah is asleep on the couch, Ethan brings out a small box. "I had this made," he says, voice rough. Inside is a child-size watch, simple, tough, glow-in-the-dark numbers, engraved on the back. To Noah, "Come home safe. Love, Ethan." Ava starts crying. Not pretty crying. The messy kind that comes from 2 years of holding everything together. "I can't keep the Patek from you," she whispers. "It's yours." "It always was." Ethan shakes his head. "It stopped being just mine the moment it kept your husband alive for Noah. Let him have it until he outgrows it. Then we'll see." He pauses. "Or until he's old enough to give it to his own kid one day and tell him about 2 brave men who wore it first." New Year's Eve. Fireworks over the East River. They stand on Ethan's roof, Noah between them holding both their hands. At midnight, Ava leans over and kisses Ethan soft and certain, snowflakes catching in her hair. 6 months later, spring finally wins. Ava has started painting again. Big, wild canvases full of color that sell almost as fast as she can finish them. Noah calls Ethan Eth and asks if he can have a little brother for his 6th birthday. On a quiet Sunday morning, Ethan takes the Patek out of the safe where he kept it the one night Ava insisted he hold it again. He meets them at Butler Bakery one last time before they all move into the brownstone together. Noah is too big now. The strap won't wrap twice anymore. Ethan kneels, fastens a watch around his own bare wrist for the first time in 7 years, and feels the weight settle like coming home. He looks at Ava, eyes shining, and says the words he's been carrying for months. "Marry me, both of you. Let's make this family out of the pieces the world broke and somehow gave back." Noah cheers and spills his hot chocolate. Ava laughs through happy tears and says yes before he even finishes the sentence. Years later, when Noah is grown and the watch fits him perfectly, he will stand on a different subway platform with his own little boy and tell him the story. How a lost watch rode the F train for 6 years just to bring 3 broken people together and teach them what "come home safe" really means. And on cold December nights, if you ride the F train late enough, sometimes you can still hear it ticking. Steady, patient, rose gold heart beating under the city lights, keeping its promise long after the war ended, long after the snow melted, long after love found its way back where it always belonged. "Can I see you again?" he asks. "Both of you. Just coffee. Or hot chocolate. I don't want anything from you. I don't know what I want. I just know I don't want to get off this ride yet." Ava studies him for a long moment, then writes her number on the corner of the kid's menu and tears it off. "Tomorrow," she says. Same bakery. 4 o'clock. Noah gets out of preschool. The next afternoon, Ethan is there at 3:45 wearing the same peacoat. No watch, no bodyguards, no pretense. Noah runs in and hugs his leg like they're old friends. Ava smiles, smaller this time, but real. Days turn into weeks. Coffee turns into weeks. Snow keeps falling. Ethan learns that Ava is a painter who hasn't touched a canvas since Daniel died. She works nights cleaning offices to pay rent on a tiny apartment in Bushwick. Noah thinks Ethan is the funniest grown-up ever because he lets him win at claw machines. One Saturday, Ethan takes him to the Natural History Museum. Noah falls asleep on his shoulder on the subway ride home. Spider-Man backpack dangling, the watch loose on his little wrist. Ava watches Ethan holding her son like he's made of glass, and something shifts behind her eyes. Christmas Eve comes. Ethan invites them to his brownstone in Brooklyn Heights. Just the 3 of them. He cooks spaghetti because it's the only thing he knows how to make without burning. Noah hangs his stocking on Ethan's fireplace. Ava stands at the window, watching snow pile up on an empty street. After Noah is asleep on the couch, Ethan brings out a small box. "I had this made," he says, voice rough. Inside is a child-size watch, simple, tough, glow-in-the-dark numbers, engraved on the back. To Noah, "Come home safe. Love, Ethan." Ava starts crying. Not pretty crying. The The messy kind that comes from 2 years of holding everything together. I can't keep the Patek from you, she whispers. It's yours. It always was. Ethan shakes his head. It stopped being just mine the moment it kept your husband alive for Noah. Let him have it until he outgrows it. Then we'll see. He pauses. Or until he's old enough to give it to his own kid one day and tell him about 2 brave men who wore it first. New Year's Eve. Fireworks over the East River. They stand on Ethan's roof, Noah between them holding both their hands. At midnight, Ava leans over and kisses Ethan soft and certain, snowflakes catching in her hair. 6 months later, spring finally wins. Ava has started painting again. Big, wild canvases full of color that sell almost as fast as she can finish them. Noah calls Ethan Eth and asks if he can have a little brother for his 6th birthday. On a quiet Sunday morning, Ethan takes the Patek out of the safe where he kept it the one night Ava insisted he hold it again. He meets them at Butler Bakery one last time before they all move into the brownstone together. Noah is too big now. The strap won't wrap twice anymore. Ethan kneels, fastens a watch around his own bare wrist for the first time in 7 years, and feels the weight settle like coming home. He looks at Ava, eyes shining, and says the words he's been carrying for months. Marry me, both of you. Let's make this family out of the pieces the world broke and somehow gave back. Noah cheers and spills his hot chocolate. Ava laughs through happy tears and says yes before he even finishes the sentence. Years later, when Noah is grown and the watch fits him perfectly, he will stand on a different subway platform with his own little boy and tell him the story. How a lost watch rode the F train for 6 years just to bring 3 broken people together and teach them what come home safe really means. And on cold December nights, if you ride the F train late enough, sometimes you can still hear it ticking. Steady, patient, rose gold heart beating under the city lights, keeping its promise long after the war ended, long after the snow melted, long after love found its way back where it always belonged. First Saturday in December, Key West. The sun is bleeding tangerine and violet across the Gulf. The same colors Connor Brennan has been chasing on canvas for 7 straight years and never quite catching. At 38, the man who sold his AI company for $22 billion now lives barefoot in a pink conch house on Simonton Street. He wears torn linen shirts, hasn't cut his hair in months, and every single evening he sets up his easel on the little strip of sand behind his picket fence to paint the Key West lighthouse at sunset. Every single evening he fails. 7 years ago, the night he signed the papers that made him richer than God, he got blackout drunk at the Green Parrot Bar. He remembers shots, conga lines, and Claire's laugh in his head even though she had already been dead 2 years. He woke the next morning on some stranger's boat with salt crusted in his beard, and the only painting Claire ever finished. Key West Lighthouse, 24 by 36 oil, a tiny red heart hidden in the lantern window, gone from its mailing tube. He offered $2 million, no questions asked. Nothing ever came back. He is folding his easel, swearing at another ruined canvas, when a small voice drifts over the fence. Look, Mommy, that man is painting our lighthouse. Connor turns. A 6-year-old girl in a swirling tie-dye dress is holding Claire's exact painting up like a trophy. Same brushstrokes, same impossible oranges, same secret red heart glowing in the window. His heart stops mid-beat. The easel crashes to the sand. The woman holding the little girl's hand. Early 30s, sun-bleached curls, paint forever under her fingernails, sundress patched at the hem, goes pale beneath her tan the moment she recognizes him. Connor drops to his knees. Where did you get that? The girl answers first. Mommy gave it to me when I turned 6 last month. She says the lady who painted it watches over me from the light. The woman, Riley Sullivan, finds her voice. It cracks like driftwood. 7 years ago, I was bartending your party at the Green Parrot. Someone slipped something in my drink. I woke up on a boat with 5 miles out, alone, scared out of my mind, and there was $5,000 in 20s and that rolled up canvas on the seat next to me. I thought, whoever did it wanted me to disappear. So I did. I left town that week. I only unrolled the painting when Mia was born. I told her the lighthouse lady was her guardian angel. Connor can't speak. The little girl, Mia, walks right up and puts the canvas in his shaking hands. You can hold it, mister. Mommy says sharing makes the light brighter. That night, Connor doesn't sleep. He hangs Claire's painting back on the wall where it lived when she was alive, right over the fireplace, and stares at it until the roosters start screaming at dawn. The next afternoon, Riley shows up at the pink house alone, twisting the hem of her dress, eyes red. "I'm sorry," she says before he can open his mouth. "I never knew whose it was. I swear, if I had known." Connor cuts her off, gentle. "You kept it safe for 7 years. You gave it a little girl who needed an angel. That's more than I ever managed." He makes coffee. They sit on the porch while chickens wander through the yard. Riley tells him she's been raising me alone, painting murals on restaurant walls for cash, living in a tiny apartment above a cigar shop. Connor tells her about Claire, how she painted that lighthouse the week before the cancer took her, how she made him promise to live loud enough for both of us. Weeks pass. Coffee turns into dinners. Mia starts calling Connor captain because he lets her steer his little sailboat. Riley starts leaving her toothbrush in his bathroom and forgets to take it home. One night, Connor finds Riley on the beach at 2 a.m., crying in front of a fresh canvas, trying and failing to copy Claire's colors. "I can't do it," she whispers. "I've tried for years. Her oranges are alive. Mine are just orange." Connor stands behind her, puts his arms around her, and guides her brush the way Claire once guided his. "Let the sky bleed into the water," he says. "That's where the magic lives." Together they paint a new sunset. It's messy, wild, perfect. Christmas comes warm and salty. Connor strings lights on the palm trees. Mia hangs a stocking that says Captain in glitter glue. After Mia is asleep, Connor gives Riley a small box. Inside is a tiny gold bracelet with a single charm, a lighthouse lantern glowing red. "I can't give Claire back," he says, "but I can give you the light she left behind." Riley kisses him so hard they fall into the sand laughing. New Year's Eve, Mallory Square is packed with tourists. Connor, Riley, and Mia stand on the edge of the pier watching the sun drop. When the sky turns exactly Claire's colors, Riley squeezes his hand. "She's here," Riley whispers. "I feel her." Connor looks at Mia dancing in circles with glow sticks, looks at Riley's paint-stained fingers laced through his, looks at the lighthouse standing steady against the purple dusk. For the first time in 7 years, he doesn't try to paint the sunset. He just lives inside it. Years later, when Mia's grown and has her own little girl, she will hang 2 paintings side by side in her house. Claire's original lighthouse with the hidden heart, and the wild, blazing sunset her mother and Captain painted together the night love finally came home. And if you walk past the pink conch house on Simonton Street on any December evening, you'll see 3 silhouettes on the beach, a man, a woman, and a girl who grew up believing guardian angels wear sundresses and carry rolled-up canvases onto strangers' boats. The lighthouse keeps watch. The colors never fade. And somewhere in the salt air, Claire is smiling because someone finally learned to live loud enough for all of them. Mid-December, Half Moon Bay, California. The fog is so thick you can lean on it. The Pacific growls against the cliffs like it's angry at the world. Sebastian Vale, 39, stands barefoot on the wet sand outside his glass and redwood house, wind whipping his dark hair into his eyes. Once the most feared cybersecurity genius on Earth, $28 billion exit at 34. Now he is just a man who walks this beach every single dawn looking for something the ocean swallowed 8 years ago. That something is a brass ship's compass on a worn leather cord. His wife Isabella gave it to him 1 week before she died in a sailing accident. Engraved on the back in her handwriting, "To my north, always find your way home to me." He wore it every day until the night he sold his company. He chartered a catamaran, drank an entire bottle of 1945 Macallan alone on the deck, and woke at sunrise with the cord snapped and the compass gone. He dragged the coast for months, offered $5 million, hired salvage divers. Nothing. This morning the tide is lower than he's ever seen it. Something glints in a tangle of kelp. Sebastian runs. A little boy, maybe 7, barefoot in an oversized wetsuit, is floating the compass like a toy boat in a tide pool. The needle spins, then points straight at Sebastian. The boy looks up, sea green eyes, Isabella's exact smile. "Careful, mister," he says. "It's magic. It always points to my dad." A woman's voice cuts through the fog. "Luca, don't bother man." Sebastian turns. She is 34, sun-bleached auburn hair in a messy braid, faded overalls rolled to the ankles, carrying a toddler on one hip and a beat-up surfboard under the other arm. When she sees Sebastian's face, the board slips from her fingers and thuds into sand. You're him." Sebastian can't speak. He just holds out his shaking hand. Luca places a compass in his palm like it belongs there. Sebastian turns it over. Same engraving. Same tiny dent from the day Isabella dropped it laughing on the dock when he proposed. He looks at Luca again. Same cheekbones. Same curious tilt of the head. The woman, Maren Cole, speaks so quietly the waves almost steal her words. 8 years ago I was 26, broke surf photographer. I worked your private party on that catamaran. Someone put something in my drink. I woke up alone on deck at dawn with $10,000 stuffed in my camera bag, and that compass on the pillow beside me. I thought it was a message to disappear. So I did. 9 months later, Luca was born. Sebastian feels the fog fill his lungs and never leave. They walk up the beach path to Sebastian's house, because none of them knows where else to go. Inside the huge living room that stares straight at Mavericks, Maren sits on the very edge of a couch she's scared to touch. Luca runs to the windows, shouting about whales. Sebastian makes hot chocolate with way too much whipped cream. His hands still shake. "I want a paternity test today," he says quietly. "There's a lab in San Francisco. I'll fly us." Maren laughs once. Broken glass sound. "We live in a converted school bus behind the taco shop. Sebastian, we don't fly. Today you do." 6 hours later, the encrypted email pings while they eat fish tacos on the deck. 99.9999% match. Luca, mouth ringed with salsa, looks up. "Does this mean you're my dad for real?" Sebastian kneels in the sawdust he'd been sanding that morning. "If your mom says it's okay, I'd really like to be." Luca studies him for 5 endless seconds, then launches himself into Sebastian's arms like he'd been aiming for that chest his whole life. Over his son's curly head, Sebastian meets Maren's eyes. Tears run down her cheeks, but she is smiling. That same evening, Sebastian's pilot lifts Maren's painted school bus, her home for 6 years, by cargo helicopter and sets it gently in the side yard like the strangest lawn ornament ever. Luca thinks Christmas came early. Maren cries when she realizes she will never again have to choose between groceries and surf wax. Sebastian turns the entire lower floor into their world. Luca gets a bedroom with a skylight for watching stars and counting satellites. Maren gets a darkroom and editing suite with windows facing the break. The compass goes on a small shelf above the fireplace. Soft light. Glass case. Still quietly ticking though it has no battery, like it knows it's finally home. At night, Sebastian sits on the edge of Luca's new bed, reading The Voyage of the Dawn Treader, while Maren leans in the doorway, arms crossed, fear turning to wonder one day at a time. Christmas Eve, the fog lifts for the first time in weeks. The three of them carry an old lantern up the trail to the top of Pillar Point where the abandoned lighthouse stands. Sebastian bought the entire lighthouse that afternoon, paperwork still warm in his pocket, just so no one can ever tell them to leave. At the very top, wind roaring, Pacific black and silver below, Sebastian pulls out a small box. Inside is a new brass compass, identical, same leather cord, but freshly engraved on the back. "To my north, our north, we found our way home." He fastens it around Maren's neck, then drops to one knee in the salt spray. "Marry me, not because of money or guilt or some crazy fate. Because for 8 years that compass pointed everywhere except true north, and the second you and Luca walked onto my beach, it finally knew where home was." Luca tugs Maren's sleeve. "Say yes, Mommy. He makes good pancakes, and he lets me have whipped cream for dinner." Maren laughs through tears and says yes before Sebastian even finishes a question. He slips Isabella's original wedding band, kept in a safe for 10 years, onto Maren's finger. It fits like it was waiting. Luca holds the old compass up to the sky. The needle spins once, twice, then settles, pointing straight at the three silhouettes hugging in the lantern light. Sometimes the thing you lose on the worst, loneliest night of your life comes back to you on a winter tide, carrying in the hands a little boy with your dead wife's smile, leading you to the family you didn't know you already had. And on the clearest nights, if you stand on that cliff and look toward the horizon, you can still see the compass glow soft, steady, always pointing home.